Blackhawks are back in action tonight against the Canucks as Connor Bedard returns to Vancouver.
You're Locked On Blackhawks, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I'm your host, Jack Bushman. Do me a quick favor. Please be sure to hit that like button. Jump in the comment section down below as well to let me know your prediction on tonight's matchup with the Canucks. And last but certainly not least, make sure that you're subscribed to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube if you haven't done so already. Even if you're someone who regularly listens through an audio platform, please make sure to quickly jump over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button for me. And I gotta let you all know as well that today's episode is sponsored by FanDuel. If you're not already a member, go and visit FanDuel.com right now to have a chance to win $150 worth of bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins with America's #1 sportsbook. All right, good morning, everyone. Again, thank you all for joining me on another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, your one-stop shop for all things Chicago Blackhawks. I hope everyone's weekend has gotten off to a wonderful start thus far. Blackhawks wrap up their little mini two-game West Coast road trip tonight as Connor Bedard returns to his hometown of Vancouver to face off with the Canucks. I'm sure there's going to be some extra motivation for Bedsy here tonight. Going to have a lot of friends and family in attendance. I'm sure even more in the Vancouver area watching on television. So going to be a lot of fun when these two teams meet up here this evening. 9 p.m. Central Time puck drop. Unfortunately, though, Blackhawks fans, and there have been far too many of these through the opening 18 games now. This is game number 18 for the Blackhawks here in the 2024-2025 regular season. Fortunately, they're going to be having a lot more games at the United Center to conclude the month of November and all throughout the month of December. I don't know what's been going on with the schedule makers these past couple of seasons, but feels like the last 4 or 5 years now, the Blackhawks just have a ridiculously made schedule in terms of crazy road trips early on, long road trips early in the season. It's been absolutely brutal, but would be big to return back to the United Center here tonight with a couple of points. It's the second meeting between these two teams here this season. The first was back on October 22nd at the United Center, which resulted in a 6-3 win for the Canucks. I was actually in attendance for that game with a lot of my buddies and felt like the Blackhawks really struggled with the size and the speed that the Canucks brought to the table. I felt like they got really bullied in front of Peter Mrazek and just weren't really sure how to handle it. Arguably the worst defensive performance from the Blackhawks here so far this season. So certainly got to be a little bit more physically capable in front of the net to tie up the Canucks forwards and also limit the amount of speed that they have through the neutral zone. I think those will be two things that Luke Richardson is really preaching to his group tonight before they hit the ice out in Vancouver. Also want to let you know real quick before I dive into my preview of the Canucks and talk about what they've been up to. The CHSN app is officially a go, Blackhawks fans. Tonight will be the first time that you can purchase the app, which, by the way, is $19.99 a month for the Blackhawks or $29.99 for the three teams, the Blackhawks, the Bulls, and the White Sox, who, of course, are all in absolute disarray at this point in time. If you're someone who's going to be purchasing the app, though, or been looking forward to this, it is now a go. You now have more options than just DirecTV or Fubo, which I'm sure will make some people happy. I know at the same point in time, people are disgusted by the $19.99 price of the app and just how the Blackhawks organization and CHSN have gone about this new network. I know they've lost a lot of people. I certainly won't blame you if you're not wanting to pay that money to tune into this team or these three teams. I obviously have to for work. This will make my life a lot easier instead of streaming, but hey, I was someone who was going to purchase it anyway. So please let me know your thoughts on the CHSN app and its price of $19.99 down in the comment section down below. And let me know if you plan on purchasing the app, if you're going to be someone who's going to watch games through that method, or if you plan on just ignoring this and kind of casting the Blackhawks to the side because of how they've gone about things. But diving into my preview of the Vancouver Canucks, getting to know Vancouver and what they've been up to. They are now 8-4-3 through their opening 15 games here in the 2024-25 regular season. 4-2-0 in 6 games here in the month of November. However, they have dropped 2 of their first 3 games during their current 6-game homestand as they lost 7-3 to the Edmonton Oilers 1 week ago last Saturday and also fell 5-2 to the New York Islanders in their most recent game on Thursday. Looking at some of the numbers here as a team for Vancouver, 15th in the NHL, directly middle of the pack on the power play at 20%, just a couple of spots below the Blackhawks, as I'll get into here in just a second. On the penalty kill, Canucks are top 10 in the NHL, coming in at number 9, 83% well shorthanded this season, and they also are top 10 in the faceoff dot, which is something Luke Richardson also needs to be starring and letting his group know. They got to be scrappy at the dot here tonight, or else they could get absolutely manhandled in that area, as Vancouver is 9th in the NHL in that category as well, winning 52% of their faceoffs as a team. In terms of goals scored per game, Vancouver is 16th at 3.13 goals per game, and goals against, they're 20th, 3.20. So outside of the penalty kill and the face-off win percentage, middle of the pack for Vancouver in the rest of the team stats. Taking a look at the Blackhawks numbers in these categories now, the Hawks have a slight advantage on the power play as they're 13th also at 20%, but I think that's, what is that? Just a couple of decimal points higher to make things easier than Vancouver in that area. Hawks 13th, like I mentioned, 19th on the penalty kill, so slightly worse than the Canucks at 78%. Hawks gave up a bit of a tough back-breaking power play goal that wound up being the game winner for Seattle in their last game. Hopefully they can get back to the type of performance that they had on Sunday, where they went 3 for 3 in a win over Minnesota. Goals for Blackhawks are one of the worst in the entire NHL. 30th out of 32 teams, averaging just 2.41 goals per game. It has been an immense struggle for them in the last couple of weeks in basically every offensive department. But in terms of goals against per game, the Blackhawks have been getting a lot of good play out of their goaltending, and getting Alec Martinez back, I think, is really going to bode well for their defensive depth. 13th in the NHL with 3.06 goals allowed per game. It stinks that this defense in goaltending is capable when the offense just can't seemingly muster up anything. Hawks did pot 3 goals in their loss to Vancouver. If they're able to tighten things up defensively, hopefully they can get that same type of offensive production here this evening. Individual players for the Canucks, obviously they got some notables that I don't even really have to talk about, that I'm sure you all will know to be keeping an eye on whenever they're out there on the ice. Quinn Hughes, the captain of the Canucks, is their leading scorer with 16 points through his first 15 games, 3 goals and 13 assists from the back end. JT Miller, second on the team in points with 14, 5 goals and 9 assists, while Brock Besser and Connor Garland each have 11 points in. There's still a lot of good depth players outside of that in their forward group. Jake DeBrusk, Elias Pettersson, Danton Heinen, Blackhawks legend Pius Suter is part of that group as well. So a really strong and really deep Canucks offense the Blackhawks has to watch out for here tonight. All right, there is my preview of the Canucks and getting to know what Vancouver has been up to since the first meeting a little less than a month ago. Coming up in just a moment here, Blackhawks fans, I'll dive into both teams' projected lineups for tonight's contest out in Vancouver. But first, I got to talk to you all about the fine folks over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action in the second half of the regular season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and will have the chance to win $150 worth of bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. And the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you also happen to place your bets. And I know it's been tough sledding for the Chicago Bears recently. Not going to get any easier with a matchup against the Green Bay Packers this weekend. But if you think the Bears can pull off a miracle, or if you want to fade them and take the Green Bay Packers. Either way, be sure to go and check out FanDuel.com right now because you'll have the opportunity to win $150 worth of bonus bets if you're not already a member. All you need to do is sign up, and if that first $5 bet wins of yours, you'll win $150 worth of bonus bets. So never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the National Football League. I also got to talk to you all real quick about SelectQuote, the World Series, the Super Bowl, the Olympics. The world's top athletes get to play in the top level sporting events thanks to one thing, teamwork. And teamwork can also now protect your financial legacy and your family's future because SelectQuote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. And in sports, winning is everything. That's why you always need a good strategy to keep you moving towards the goalpost. Winning strategies for life are just as important. And that's why on my team, I have life insurance through SelectQuote to protect my legacy and my family's financial future. Go and get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL right now. Again, that's selectquote.com/LockedOnNHL today to get started. I don't know how my mic just went on mute. I apologize there, Blackhawks fans. Back here on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone for tuning in here on this fine Saturday morning and making Locked On Blackhawks your very first listen here to start off your day. Now for your second listen, make sure to go and check out the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast so that you can become a fantasy hockey expert and getting an advantage over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. And you can easily find the link to Locked On Fantasy Hockey down in the description or simply search on YouTube and wherever you may be listening to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Segment 2, getting into both teams' projected lineups here tonight for this 9 p.m. puck drop out west in Vancouver. I want to talk about the lineup I want to see out of the Blackhawks tonight because, as I'm sure some of y'all noticed on the last episode that I dropped yesterday following the Blackhawks 3-1 loss to the Seattle Kraken, I'm pretty fed up with how Luke Richardson has gone about these forward lines. There hasn't been consistency in anything that he's rolled with, probably because he hasn't let anything really marinate. He's tinkering with the lines, not only every game, but like every single period. He's not giving these guys any time to establish any chemistry. And I know it also is probably a result of this dire need to get wins right here, right now, before the Blackhawks fall too far behind the 8-ball. But it feels like by doing this, they're just digging the trench even further and further and further, in my opinion. And They just need to put guys in spots to succeed. And guess what? It sucks if it doesn't work right here, right now. But we need to give them the opportunity to establish something together, not just go out there and be like, hey, this needs to work right here, right now, guys. Like, and act all frantically. Like, I feel like they're kind of being put in a position to do so. I don't know why Connor Bedard won't play with Tyler Bertuzzi. I don't understand why Luke Richardson won't play them together. And it seems very apparent to me. I'm not going to beat a dead horse here because I talked about this in great terms on yesterday's episode, but Bedard has had success. Boy, that sounded awkward. Please, nobody clip that. Bedard has had success with Nick Foligno, probably more so outside of Philip Kurashev than anyone else in this Blackhawks forward group. And it's not because Nick Foligno is this gifted offensive playmaker. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's because Nick Foligno, I think, plays a simple, straightforward game, good on the forecheck, aggressive, active stick, can win board battles, can win loose pucks back, and go to the dirty areas. Who else does that sound like on the Blackhawks? Who else does that sound like? It sounds like Tyler Bertuzzi to me. I just don't understand why they haven't been given more of an opportunity together at 5-on-5. And I know Bertuzzi hasn't gotten off to the best start this year, but who on the Blackhawks, outside of Ryan frickin' Donato, the new certified goal scorer, has gotten off to a good start this year for the Blackhawks? Who's skating? Not Peter Mrazek, not Arvid Soderblom, right? Like, it's frustrating. So what I would like to see here tonight, Blackhawks fans, I don't expect this to be the case because I know Luke Richardson. I would love to see Tyler Bertuzzi, Connor Bedard, Philip Kurashev as the Blackhawks top line. I anticipate it'll be Kurashev, Bedard, and Teravainen, Richardson running it back like he did last game, even though 3 undersized forwards has literally never worked for Connor Bedard. It's literally never worked. That's another reason to go and give him a player like Tyler Bertuzzi on the top line. So that's what I would like to see if I was the one making these decisions, Blackhawks fans, which of course I'm not qualified to do. It would be Bertuzzi, Bedard, Kurashev on the top line, Taylor Hall, Nick Foligno, Lucas Reichel on the second line. Lucas Reichel in more meaningful situations. Lucas Reichel with more skilled players. More ice time for Lucas Reichel because guess what? He's one of the only players we have with a offensive skill set that can absolutely buzz out there. This Blackhawks team is so lacking speed. And we don't even have Lucas Reichel on either power play units right now. That makes absolutely no sense to me. When this is a Blackhawks team that A, has struggled to get anything set up on their power play. Why is that the case? Because they don't have great speed. Who's on their second power play unit? Pat Maroon and Craig Smith? What? What are we doing here? It's not a surprise that that second unit has done nothing all. How do you not have Lucas Reichel, who's been honestly, not even one right. He's been one of the most effective players for the Blackhawks at even strength this year. And it's because of his speed, creativity, and hockey IQ through the neutral zone and into the offensive zone. I don't know how you continuously give him 11 to 12 minutes a night. That blows my marbles. So again, if I was the one making the decisions, I would go with Hall. You got to play Nick Foligno at center because outside of Jason Dickinson, he's legitimately the only one on this team that can consistently win draws. Been the best in that category for the Blackhawks so far this year, by the way. I think because of that, you got to keep Nick Foligno at the second line center spot for now, and you throw Lucas Reichel on the right wing up there with them. As a result of that, you go with Ryan Donato, Jason Dickinson, and Teuvo Teravainen on the third line. And quite honestly, Blackhawks fans, if Luke Richardson were to scratch Teuvo Teravainen tonight, you'd hear no gripe from me. I would understand having Teuvo Teravainen as the extra man because he's been a massive disappointment since getting off to a pretty hot start right out of the gate. For the money he's been paying, for the opportunities he's getting, being a focal point of the top power play unit, and was handed the keys to start the season with Bedard, he's kind of flopped on his face these past 3 weeks to a month now. And there needs to be a message sent. You want to scratch Ryan Donato? You want to scratch Lucas Reichel? Then scratch Teuvo Teravainen too, because he simply has not been good enough, man. And if you do want to play him, he's fine on this third line shutdown role, along with Ryan Donato and Jason Dickinson, because he is a capable defensive player and is serviceable in defensive situations and on the penalty kill. So that's the way I would go about things. On the fourth line to round things out, I would go with Pat Maroon, Ilya Mikheyev playing the center position, Craig Smith on the right wing, leaving Joey Anderson as the extra man. But even if you wanted to have Joey Anderson, I know he doesn't play center, but if you wanted him to fill in on the fourth line instead of Ilya Mikheyev, that's fine with me. I just think it's really apparent that Teuvo Teravainen hasn't done enough in the top six to garner consistent opportunities there. Lucas Reichel is needing more opportunities, and Connor Bedard needs to play with a player of size. All of these things, to me, seem pretty obvious, but Luke Richardson just continues to jumble. I would love to see those forward lines tonight. Do I expect it? Absolutely not. The Blackhawks will probably roll back Kurashev, Bedard, Teravainen, Hall, Foligno, Bertuzzi. Gotta do something to get this offense going, Blackhawks fans. On the back end, Alec Martinez, as I mentioned in segment 1, did officially return to the Blackhawks lineup for the first time in over a month. A little bit of a dicey first game back for him, but that's sort of to be expected. I would roll him back on the top pairing with Seth Jones again here tonight. Alex Vlasic and Connor Murphy, I think, are going to be the second pairing as they found a lot of success with one another as well. However, I think TJ Brodie needs to be out of the lineup tonight, man. TJ Brodie, first off, has been awful on the ice. Second, if you're going to have Nolan Allen as the seventh defenseman on this NHL roster, You got to regularly give him action. And honestly, even though he's a 21-year-old rookie, I believe, maybe he's 22 now. Can't remember off the top of my head. I apologize, Blackhawks fans. Either way, he's already better than TJ Brodie, man, in his first string of NHL action. TJ Brodie has been a huge disappointment. Pretty big whiff by general manager Kyle Davidson. Messages need to be sent. These guys need to be better. TJ Brodie hasn't been good enough. I would scratch him tonight. The problem with that, though, is you have both Allen and Kaiser in the lineup. I know when Martinez has been healthy, Richardson likes to have him on that top pairing with Jones. If they want to stick with that, it would mean leaving Allen and Kaiser together, assuming you leave Vlasic and Murphy together as well. Maybe you jumble those up in some different way, but regardless, those are the 6 that I'd be rolling tonight if I was Coach Luke Richardson on the back end. As far as who will get the start in net for the Blackhawks, still up in the air. It's 11 o'clock Central Time at the time of this recording, so only 9 p.m. Central Time in Vancouver, a couple hours before the Blackhawks hit the ice for the morning skate. I wouldn't be surprised to see Peter Mrazek run back once again, considering just how remarkably good he's been night in and night out. I wouldn't hate to see Arvid Soderblom go, though, either. He's been really sharp in his first 4 starts. Wouldn't be surprised either way. I'd probably lean towards Mrazek with the Blackhawks losing in their last game, but we'll ultimately wind up seeing at the morning skate. As far as the Vancouver Canucks lineup, kind of similar to the Seattle Kraken, 4 really deep forward lines for this Canucks forward group. Pia Suter, Blackhawks legend Pia Suter, looks like he's going to be on the top line with JT Miller and Jonathan Lekkerimäki, who's getting an opportunity inside the top 6 right now. Jake DeBrusk, Elias Pettersson, and Kiefer Sherwood appear to be the second line. Dakota Joshua, Teddy Bluga, and Connor Garland, who I feel like always does good work against the Blackhawks and, of course, was involved in Blackhawks trade rumors a couple of summers ago. That seems to be the Canucks' third line, while Danton Heinen, Atu Ratu, one of the best names in all of hockey, and Niels Hoglander round things out on the fourth line. Quinn Hughes and Philip Roenick have been the top pairing for the Canucks for a while now. Carson Soucy, Tyler Myers shake up to be the second pairing, while Eric Brandstrom and Vincent Desharnais round things out on the back end. Not the sharpest defensive group, I think, here for the Canucks. I think there's a lot of speed, there's a lot of offensive game, but quite honestly, I like the Vancouver Canucks. I love their forward group, and I love Thatcher Demko, who I'll get to in just a second. I don't think this is a blue line that you can win a Stanley Cup with, though. I think they definitely need to add another good right-handed defenseman here. Maybe even a left. I mean, Soucy on the second pairing. Soucy's a good player, but is he a number 3, number 4 on a Stanley Cup winner? I don't know about that. Hopefully the Blackhawks can take advantage of a semi-lackadaisical Canucks blue line here tonight out west. As far as who we can expect to see in net, Thatcher Demko is actually out for the Vancouver Canucks still, a multi-week injury, and the latest report I saw is that he's still pretty far ways away. So no Thatcher Demko for Vancouver tonight. That sets up Blackhawks legend Kevin Lankinen to get the start in between the pipes, of course. Lankinen was the one who started in the first meeting of the season between these two teams and got the win in his first game back at the United Center. It's been a pretty sharp start to the season for Lanky. Good for him. 8-2-2 record through 12 starts, 2.60 goals against, 907 save percentage with 1 shutout. Happy to see Kevin Lankinen having success as a backup in Nashville these last couple of years, and now getting an opportunity to be the number 1 for Vancouver with Thatcher Demko out of the lineup. Could be Mrazek and Lankinen once again here tonight when the puck drops at 9 p.m. Central Time in Vancouver. All right, there are both teams' projected lineups for this matchup here tonight. Before I wrap things up, I do still have to go over my 3 keys to victory and best bets for this matchup in Vancouver. Still getting over that cough, Blackhawks fans. It has been absolutely brutal. Real quick, before I get into segment 3, though, I need to talk to you all about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. And Prize Picks is now the easiest and most exciting way for you to play daily fantasy sports, because all you got to do is simply pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Do you think Connor Bedard is going to score more than 0.5 goals tonight in his return to Vancouver? Or how about rack up more than 1.5 points? You can now cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this hockey season when you and your crew run your game with Prize Picks. And one thing I really do like about Prize Picks is it's the only real daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players were to get injured. So be sure to go and download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps to get $50 instantly when you play $5. Again, that's the promo code LOCKEDONNHL in all caps on Prize Picks to get $50 when you play $5. Prize Picks, run your game. Segment 3, still have to get into my 3 keys to victory for the Blackhawks tonight out on the West Coast, as well as my best bet. And just briefly, a reminder that the next episode of Locked On Blackhawks is Mailbag Monday. So if you have a Blackhawks-related question, if you're watching this, listening to this right now, be sure to drop that down below in the comment section. You can also reach out on any one of my social media channels or even email lockedonblackhawks@gmail.com. Make sure to get those questions in before Monday. And I do have a pretty good amount of them already saved up since I was sick this past Monday and didn't get an episode out. So make sure to get them in. Let's make this the beefiest Mailbag Monday of all time, because I know lots of you Blackhawks viewers and listeners have Blackhawks related questions. My first key to victory for the Blackhawks here tonight is centered around Mr. Connor Bedard, returning to Vancouver for the first time this season. Play with that extra passion, man. Play with that extra fire, that extra speed. Lord knows the Blackhawks need it. Like I mentioned in segment 1, friends, family going to be in attendance, right? Give them something to stand up for. Give them something to be yelling about, Mr. Connor Bedard. You know the place will absolutely erupt, even if it is a Vancouver Canucks crowd. If Connor Bedard were to find the back of the net in this game, need that to be the case. It has been way too long since he's found the back of the net. Would be fitting for him to break his schneid here tonight in his hometown of Vancouver. My second key to victory for the Blackhawks, I apologize, I got to mute real quick. This cough is ridiculous. I hate this time of the year, Blackhawks fans. It always gets me. Second key to victory for the Blackhawks is they got to hunker down in front of their goaltender. As I mentioned, I felt like the Canucks played bully ball. I felt like I was watching NBA basketball with like Zach Randolph down in the post over someone who just has no business guarding him there. The Canucks were playing bully ball against the Blackhawks in this first meeting. 4 goals in the opening 20 minutes. All of them were like within a stick's reach of the Blackhawks crease. Golly, man, this is ridiculous. I apologize so much, Blackhawks fans. Got to be physical. Got to be strong. Got to be tough. Alex Vlasic was one in particular who really got taken advantage of in front of his own goaltender. Wyatt Kaiser has struggled in those areas the last couple of games. Blackhawks need to get a stronger effort in front of either Peter Mrazek or Arvid Soderblom tonight. Third and final key to victory is to get inside the dots. This isn't the most defensively imposing blue line that they're going to face tonight here in the Canucks. And we know the Blackhawks have really struggled to get off any looks in the high danger areas these past handful of games. Got to do a better job of execution and just a desire to get there, man. They need to be better and need to capitalize on their opportunities. Get better looks. I know it's kind of cliche to just go and say that, but the desire and the drive to get to the slot, get out in transition, and get odd man rushes. It just needs to be better tonight because the Blackhawks are going up against a potent offense. If they can only muster up 1 or 2 goals, I really don't like their chances of coming away with a win. As far as the best bet, Vancouver currently the favorite over at FanDuel at -245. The Blackhawks +198. The puck line -1.5 for Vancouver is +106, which if you were thinking of betting on Vancouver tonight, I think that's a pretty good line. +1.5 for the Hawks is -130. Over 5.5, -134. Under 5.5, +110. Looking at the goal scorers, JT Miller's the favorite at +170. Elias Pettersson next at +180. Connor Garland at 200. Bedard at 210. Lekari Maki at +290. Suter at 300. DeBrusk at 300, Bertuzzi at 370, Hughes at 370, Donato 400, Hall 400, Foligno 400, Heinen 400, Kurashev 400. So a lot of goal scorers there below the 4-1 marker, which I don't think is very fair whatsoever. How I'm going to go about things tonight here, and the goal scorers, the Blackhawks legends, it's been working pretty well here on the pod, so I'm going to stick with it. Give me a Pius Suter goal tonight, plus 300, playing on the top line. I don't know if he's on the top power play, but I know he's on one of their man advantage units. Playing with JT Miller, give me a Pius Suter goal as a Blackhawks legend tonight against his former team. My last play, I'm going with Connor Bedard, 1 or more points, parlayed with Tyler Bertuzzi, 2 or more shots on goal. That comes out to plus 160, which I think is a pretty fair number. Bertuzzi to only get 2 shots. I know he had none in the last game, but did have some good scoring chances that he just missed the net on. And I think Bedard's going to have that extra mojo in his hometown. That's going to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Blackhawks, everyone. Again, thank you all for joining me on the show. Please be sure to go and follow Locked On Blackhawks for free right now, wherever you may be listening to your podcast, and to subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube. That way, you can get the daily episode as soon as it's available each and every day. As always, I'm your host, Jack Bushman. You can find me on X at Jack Bushman 2, but be sure to follow my strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey for all the latest Blackhawks news and updates. So until the next episode, everyone, have a safe and wonderful rest of your weekends. Drop your Mailbag Monday questions down below in the comment section, and I'll see you next time on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.